This week I'm working on this Citroen Plurial with quite a substantial dent over almost the whole front panel. The damage extends all the way up to the top edge of the panel and contains lots of complex dents and creases. We also have a nasty kink and dent at the lower edge of the panel, just over the wheel arch. Now it's going to take quite a bit of work to straighten this mess out, so as always, stay tuned to see the full repair process from start to finish. Hi everyone, it's Jake here from Dents, bringing you another paintless dent removal video. Today I'm working on this Citroen Plurial, or at least I think that's how you pronounce it. As you can see, it sustained quite a large dent over the middle of the front wing, otherwise known as the fender panel. So I've done quite a few cars for this customer before in the past. He's a very good and valued customer of mine. He called me up, he said, Jake, I can't believe it, but somehow I've managed to damage my Citroen front panel. I can't remember the full story, but I know he's either cleaning the car or doing something next to the car. He fell against it, and as you can see, the whole thing is just caved in. Now, he wasn't very precious about this car, and initially was just going to leave it as he didn't really want to spend any money on the vehicle. But seeing this dent every day was really going to wind him up. So we struck a deal where I would just spend around 2 to 3 hours on it, making it look a whole lot better than it does now. Now, Citroen metal isn't the easiest metal to work on, so to get something like this perfect, I'd probably need to spend the best part of a day on it. So let's see what we can achieve. But before we get into this repair, let's take a closer look at all the different parts that make up this damage so you guys can see exactly what I'm working with. So looking at this panel, the total size of the dent covers an area of approximately around 400mm by 440mm. And I'm going to break this repair down into two main areas, Section A and Section B. So first, looking at Section A, we can see that the panel has been pushed in quite far, but instead of sinking in one place, it's rippled and created multiple dents, as you can see here in red. We also have lots of high crown areas which are also highlighted here in red. Now if we go back now and look at Section B, we can see that we have this low section here which was probably involved in the original impact, and then just to the right here as the light pans across, we can see this sharp kink, which is secondary damage that was created where the panel buckled and kinked under the pressure of the impact. Looking under the panel, we can see that we do have fairly good access, although this box section at the top will likely cause an issue of getting good access into the top section. So on a repair like this, it's really important to attack the right areas in the right order to get the best result. So without any more delay, let's get started. I've decided that I'm going to attempt to try and pull out the majority of this damage from the outside. So first, I need to give the panel a good clean. The first section I'm going to repair is Section A. This is the most complex part of the damage, therefore will need to be pulled out first. To do this, I'm going to be using some Glexo cold glue to pull the majority of this damage out. I first warm the panel up slightly. The reason for this is that it helps the cold glue adhere better. Then I'm starting at the point where there is the most tension, which is right here at the top. After pushing the glue carefully into the deepest low, I then give a couple of sharp pulls on the slide hammer. I then move down to some of the other sections to see how many low areas I can pull out using this cold glue method. Using Glexo cold glue can really speed up your workflow as it allows you to pull out large sections of damage quickly and cleanly. Next, I'm using these Glexo panel preparation wipes. These are great for cleaning the panel prior to glue pulling to give maximum adhesion, and also for wiping any small marks of residue off the panel after glue pulling. As most of the larger dents have reduced in size, I'm now using a smaller Glexo glue tab with some cold glue to concentrate on pulling all these small remaining areas back up. Now there is certainly a difference to trying to pull this Citroen metal up compared to some other steel, for example. It definitely has more flex to it, so I have to be careful not to go too crazy, as there is a danger of overstretching the metal, and that will be very difficult to correct. As you can see, this stuff is super sticky. The Glexo cold glue is a huge time saver on repairs like this. As I said before, it just helps to bring the bulk of the damage out. But as you can see, I still have plenty more work to do in order to get this panel back straight again. So apart from having lots of low sections all over the panel, you may have noticed lots of lumps and bumps, which we like to call crowns. So to help the metal flow back into shape, these need to be tapped back down again using hammers and knockdowns. From the other side, you can see some of these crowns quite clearly. So using one of my knockdowns with a soft rubber tip, I gently tap these high areas back down again, which will help when trying to push up the low areas adjacent to them. This one here, as you can see, is quite a large and gradual crown, which needs careful and accurate manipulation with the hammer in order to bring it back down cleanly. If you hit these crowns too hard and too quickly, you will only create more work for yourself, so going slow and being patient is the key here. As there are several crowns all over the panel, I constantly have to move the board in my position to remove them all. As before with the glue pulling, when I said about not pulling too hard, the same goes with tapping the high areas down. If you hammer too hard, you're in danger of stretching the metal. Now the sun's just creeping around the side of the house, causing some harsh light and shadows, so putting the umbrella up allows me to control the lighting conditions so I can see more clearly. As you can see, we still have several crowns across the whole panel, so I still need to spend a lot of time reducing these as much as possible. Here I'm using a harder tip on my tap down on this section here, as it's quite weak, and this will allow me to force this metal down better without stretching the panel. I then go back in with my soft tip on my hammer to try and remove as many of the larger, more gradual crowns before I start bringing up the lows once more. The next part I'm going to work on is section B, which is this low section and outward crease shown here. So to start with, I'm using my large rubber tip. Once behind the panel, it's quite an easy task of taking my time, gradually moving around this low area until all of it is pushed up nicely. Once the low area is pushed up, I can then get to work by using my plastic bullet tip on the end of my knockdown to tap down this hard kink. Again, the reason for speeding this up is because it's a slow process of being as accurate as you can, gradually bringing the high ridge back down level with the adjacent metal. And there we go. For now, that's good enough. I'll come back and fine tune this later. Okay, so now I'm moving up to the top section again so I can concentrate on roughing out all these low sections using my PDR bars. I'm using my large ultra dent screw-on tip bar for this, and I'm sticking with the large rubber tip. I'm warming the paint up to protect it from cracking, as some of these pushes are going to be quite forceful. I'm using this larger bar as it will allow me to get much more leverage. Starting at the top, I'm using this bar to push up as many of these low sections as I can and as cleanly as I can. Then once these areas are pushed up, I can start tapping down the high areas surrounding them. I'm now coming down to the middle section to push up these low areas. This section has some tight low sections that need a lot of force to get the metal moving. But like I've said before, this metal can stretch easily, so I have to be very careful. Now time to address some of those high areas again, and as before, I'm using a mix of soft and hard tips to achieve this. Moving up to this higher view, I can still see some larger, more gradual crowns that were not visible from the side view earlier. This shows the importance of constantly changing your viewing position. A quick review shows that slowly the panel is starting to come back to shape. All of the larger dents have reduced into much smaller, manageable sized dents, but I still have a long way to go. For the next step, I'm switching over to my standard rubber tip. This tip will allow me to push up some of these smaller sections that have been left behind from removing the larger dents and tapping down the crowns. Any small high areas can be tapped back down again using my plastic bullet tip on my knockdown. Okay, now time to move up the panel into the top edge, although the only problem I have here is that the internal box section frame is preventing me from getting good clean access. So to get around this, I'm going to use my bendable tool here from Ultra Dent Tools with a plastic vinyl tip. Once this bar is pushed up underneath, it will allow me to get right into the top edge and start pushing these tricky low sections out. And I'm still using my plastic bullet tip to tap down any of the high areas. Moving over to the other side here gives me another view and allows me to see the damage that wasn't easily visible from the other side. It's It's always important to view the damage from as many angles as possible to ensure nothing is missed. A few tap downs with my tap down tools, and so far I've made good progress. Time to start with some finer tips now, so I'm starting off with my plastic bullet tip. As you can see, the overall damage is now reduced to a series of lots of small micro lows, so gradually using these finer PDR tips I'm able to concentrate on the finer details and smooth the panel out gradually, bringing it back to its original shape. This is also achieved by using the finer tap down tools to tap down all the little micro highs. Now on to the last stage of the repair, the final polish. Here I'm using a small amount of fine polishing compound. I work this into the panel using a very soft mop head. This allows me to remove any surface marks from the clear coat and gives the panel a nice glossy shine. So once the polishing is completed, it's time to wipe down the panel and check out the final result. As always, I really appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. As you saw, the Glexo cold glue system really helped me to get this dent started. It's always a great product for starting off these big dents and drawing out as much metal as you can before going in with the PDR bars. Also, as you saw, it's really important to start off with the right section on a repair like this. I initially started off with section A, as it wouldn't have made any sense at all to start on the lower section first, as the large bulk at the top needed to be removed in order for the metal lower down to relax, which then allowed me to lift up and tap down the high ridge next to the wheel arch in section B. As I mentioned in the beginning, the customer wasn't expecting too much with this repair, so I managed to spend as much time that was needed to suit his budget and his expectations, and he was really pleased with how the repair came out. As always, if you like the video, it'd be great to get a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed, then it would be great to have you on board. So hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified when a new video is uploaded. Well, that's all for now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.